What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 24-hour 80s movie marathon. Back for another year. Very excited. Before I get into it, I want to say thank you and give a shout out to Ryan Chataway, who started in the movie community the whole 24-hour movie marathon. So I will give him a link below. Check him out. But this year, I thought it would be fun to do an 80s movie marathon, go through each year and pick one movie that I haven't seen before. So in 1980, I was 9. So 9 to 18, those were my prime movie watching years, and I watched a ton of movies in that decade. But there are some, and there's some popular ones that I've never seen before. So we'll start with 1980 and just make our way through the decade. So we're gonna start with 1980 and Altered States. I know very little about this. I think it's supposed to be kind of creepy, horror-y maybe? I don't know. I know that, I don't have my readers. William Hurt's in it. Directed by Ken Russell. And it's in an awesome snapper case. I'm telling you, I'm predicting it now. Not that it's a grand prediction, but you know how people grade VHS tapes? Like, that's a thing? For sure, snapper cases are gonna be a big thing in grading. Just give it a few years and DVDs are gonna come back around and people are gonna be like, snapper cases, oh my goodness, this is amazing. But anyways, let's get into it. So yeah, Altered States. Finished up Altered States. That movie is bonkers. It's bonkers in a good way, I think, but it was good. I'm going to pick up a little bit of dinner, but let's drive for a little bit so we can talk about Altered States. Plus, it was noisy in the house. So, okay, so it stars William Hurt, Blair Brown, I think her name is, and Bob Balaban, and Charles Hayde. I'm pretty sure that's his name. Now, I remember him from Hill Street Blues. And then Bob Balaban, he's been in a ton of stuff, but, excuse the glare of the sun, but I rewatched Close Encounters about a month or so ago, maybe a couple months ago. Have a whole new appreciation for that movie. If you haven't seen it in a long time, I highly recommend giving it a watch. It's always been very good, but I found it boring when I was younger. I've watched it about 3 times since. I've been watching the different cuts of the film. But yeah, so check that out. But Altered States. Okay, so William Hurt plays a scientist, doctor. He's one of those, I don't know. He's been doing experiments. He does experiments with the schizophrenics, but he's also been doing the water deprivation tanks. He's been doing tests on himself, because he's really into kind of like finding the true self and all that. And he had visions of Jesus when he was younger. So he's just kind of trying to figure stuff out, life. He's trying to figure out the meanings of things, like big life questions. And he thinks he's kind of onto something, but then goes to Mexico and he finds this Indian tribe who does like this ritual with mushrooms. They drink a mushroom potion stew thing, and he trips balls, but he takes some of the potion back with him to the States, and he keeps doing the ritual, right? He does the tests on himself, and he kind of starts tripping out a little bit, and he thinks like his DNA is kind of, not his DNA, but like things inside him are changing. Well, then he takes the mixture while he's in the deprivation tank, and he comes out a monkey man. He really comes out a monkey man, and it's glorious. It's so bonkers. He comes out a monkey man, but then eventually he changes back into human form. So, like his his wife and like his friends are like, I don't know, you should probably stop doing this. But he wants to do like one final test, and that's where it goes cuckoo bonkers. Like, I can't even explain what happened at the end of this movie. And you may be thinking like, where are you going for this food? But the place is actually like a minute and a half from our house, but I wanted to drive around and talk about the movie. Yeah, but that was Altered States. I really recommend checking it out. It's a trip. And the acting's really good. The score is good. It really adds to the intensity of the scenes, because there is a lot of like anxiety-riddled scenes, and the music adds to that. But next up, so 1981, because we're going in order, and I brought the movie because I'm a dork. We're going to be talking about Nighthawks, Sylvester Stallone. Once again in a glorious snapper case. He's a cop of some sort, and Billy D. Williams is in here. Lindsay Wagner, Rutger Hauer, Persis Khambatta. I wonder if she's gonna have hair in this one. So yeah, next up is Nighthawks with Sylvester Stallone. You're gonna take a little trip with me to go get a poke bowl, and then we will start the movie. Nighthawks, my goodness. Sylvester Stallone, Billy D. Williams. Now, Sylvester Stallone was really good. Good role for him. Billy D. Williams was great. He wasn't in it a ton, but when he was really, really good. Persis Khambatta, who plays Shaka. The way Rutger Hauer says it in the film is really great. She has hair in this. I was trying to remember the MST movie that she was in, and it was Warrior of the Lost World. If anyone has seen that masterpiece, Warrior of the Lost World. But yeah, she was in it. Rutger Hauer, who plays bad guy. He plays, throughout his career, he played bad guy really well. I mean, he was a really great actor, but he played bad guy great. Unfortunately, this is the Good Times release, the snapper case, and it's a full frame release. I mean, it was fine, but I had looked it up, and Shout Select has a release of it on Blu-ray, and that's in the proper aspect ratio. Really, the story is kind of simple, you know. Stallone and Billy D. Williams play New York police officers, and it still feels like, even with Altered States as well, like that and this movie still feel very 70s, late 70s. You haven't gotten into kind of the, I think once you get to like at least 84, it starts to switch over a little bit, where you're getting more into the lighter feel of the decade. I don't know why I did this. Really, there's not much more to the film than that. You really want Rutger Hauer to die at the end. And the ending, for anyone who's seen this movie, sometimes I see things coming a mile away, and sometimes I'm like, I don't get it, what's going on? This one I didn't see coming, the very end of the film. And when it happened, I'm in here cheering by myself like a maniac. So it had a very fulfilling outcome. But I recommend checking it out. It's good. It's a little slow, not bad, but just it kind of takes its time a little bit. So that'll be it for tonight. It's early, it's only like 8:30, I think, but I got a couple other things to do tonight, and I think it makes sense, the way I have the movies picked out, it almost makes sense to do 2 a night. Because like I mentioned previous years, I don't do a full 24 hours because I would just pass out. So I break it up into days, and I think this year for the marathon, I will break it up into double features. Oh, it's a lovely Sunday afternoon. We're gonna continue the 24-hour 80s movie marathon. Tonight's double feature is, the first one's going to be Dragon Slayer, and I have to thank Movie Assault for the recommendation. And I'll put his link down below. Check him out, great channel. It should have been one of those movies that I watched. Like, I watched Beastmaster and Conan and all those, so I don't know why I never checked out Dragon Slayer, but it has this new 4K release. So yeah, that'll be the first one. and this is supposed to be a really good release, so I'm looking forward to it. The second one is going to be Albert Pyun's The Sword and the Sorcerer. This is the Scream Factory release, and unfortunately he passed away late last year. And I don't know if I've seen any of his movies. You know, this one, once again, it looks really good. It looks entertaining. I've heard nothing but good things. So that will be the double feature for tonight. I will check in with you guys after the movies. All finished with the double feature of Dragon Slayer and The Sword and the Sorcerer. What a great double feature. Okay, first we have to start with Dragon Slayer 1981. I loved this movie. I love Dragon Slayer. Now, real quick, let's talk about, because it just came out on 4K. No Blu-ray, but 4K and then the digital code. Lovely transfer. Oh my goodness. You know, like I said, I hadn't seen it before, so I don't know how it looked on, well, VHS is VHS, but I didn't know what the DVD transfer looked like. And I don't know if it had a Blu-ray, but this looks lovely. And then it comes with an audio commentary, which I want to go back and listen to, with the director Matthew Robbins and Guillermo del Toro, excuse me. Then you also get screen tests and the trailer. And then also it's a great kind of behind the scenes documentary. It's like a 4 or 5 part documentary called The Slayer of All Dragons. And it is over an hour long, I want to say. That's great because it really gives you a behind the scenes look at how the dragon work, all the dragon stuff was made, because it was done by ILM, and you know, like Phil Tippett and Dennis Murin, so those guys were involved, and of course like a whole bunch of other people. Okay, but let's get into the movie if you haven't seen it. It's a pretty basic story. It's a sorcerer and his apprentice. Peter McNichol is the apprentice. Some people, like other townspeople, come to the sorcerer to say, hey, you know, will you come and slay this dragon? Because the dragon is like, we have to trade the virgin women so the dragon doesn't attack us. That's the whole thing. You just kind of have to let it go. That's just part of the story. Because if you start thinking about the logistics of it, it's like, wait, what? Just let it go. So the sorcerer he sees into the future of what's going to happen. Anyways, okay, hold on, I wrote it down. So Ralph Richardson plays the sorcerer, and he was great. Everyone's great in this movie. And also Ian McDermott is in it for just a little bit. He plays the priest. You can't miss him. Do I spoil it? Do I spoil the 40-year-old movie? But I tell you, so everything looks so good in this film. Honestly, like, it holds up so well. The locations are beautiful. I believe it was shot all in the UK. The dragons, like in the documentary, you learn that it was go motion. It was a combination of go motion, like full scale, like they made the full scale head and stuff for the dragon. And then, what was the third? Oh, they did like a big hand puppet, but it's just gorgeous. So it's kind of a combination of all those. And then you have some blue screen at the end of the movie. That's kind of like, it doesn't fall apart at the very end as far as the effects by no stretch. But you can tell, like, that's the part that's kind of dated the most, but it still looks really good. Anyways, it's a hero story, you know, so it all turns out really good in the end. But oh my gosh, it's a combination Paramount Disney movie. They also said in the documentary that this was inspired by Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, which I imagine a lot of those sword and sorcerer type movies in the 80s were inspired by Tolkien. The director, okay, so Matthew Robbins is the director, and I'm sorry, I have to look at my notes here. So what an eclectic collection of movies that he's directed. So Corvette Summer, that was the one with Mark Hamill, Annie Potts, I believe. Then you have The Legend of Billie Jean from the 80s. That was Helen Slater. And then Batteries Not Included, which that was the family film in the 80s. I think Steven Spielberg had something to do with that one. And then he had this one, and I think he's been writing for some Guillermo del Toro projects. And it's a shame. So this film had an $18 million budget, but it did not do well at the box office. And I'm sure it didn't help that 2 weeks later, so I guess it didn't do well, but then 2 weeks later, Raiders of the Lost Ark came out, and then like, that's it, game's over once Raiders comes out. Goodness, please check out Dragon Slayer. Pick up this release. It is great. I mean, honestly, if you took a shot for every time I just said great, you would be dead. But please, yeah, check this one out. I'm so happy I finally got to watch it, and thank you to Movie Assault for recommending it. So now we move to Albert Pune's The Sword and the Sorcerer. Now this one is, what a nice contrast, because so this one was made for $4 million. In 1982 it was released. This one is fun, and I won't, the more you get into the movie, I think it gets better. It starts out really good. It gets a little slow in the middle, not bad, but maybe a little slow, and then just really ramps up at the end. Because you've got, like, at the very beginning, you've got this witch lady, you've got this bad guy. Richard Lynch plays the bad guy. He brings this witch lady to conjure up this really bad dead guy. And the tomb, if anyone out there has seen it, so there's like this cement tomb, and the faces come to life on this tomb, and not in like a cheesy way. It looks really good. It's super effective. And I'm pretty sure that was Richard Mall from Night Court who played the you know, the super bad guy. Richard Lynch wants the super bad guy so he can take over like the most popular kingdom, and like, you know, he wants the power and the glory and whatnot. Towards the end of this film, it just gets great. I can't fucking say that word again. I can't say it again. The locations look so nice because Albert Pune chose to film near the ocean. So you have these lovely like ocean backdrops, and you have some lovely sunsets, waterfalls. So it makes things really interesting. Another scene that really stood out was when the red archers were all lined up, and like all the dragons, like if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The dragons like all kind of light up. They're all choreographed to light up together. That's awesome. There's just a lot of really great shots, but then you get to the end of the movie. Now the hero, he's a traditional like male hero, and he plays it really well. I want to say it's the actor who played Matt Houston. He was in a TV show in the 80s, does very well. But towards the end, I mean, you've got everything coming together. You've got good guys fighting bad guys. You've got swords, you've got arrows, you've got fire, you've got mist, you've got a snake, you've got a couple lizards for some reason. You've got these kind of epic battles. You've got slow motion battles. You've got a triple sword, like a tri-sword, and for some reason it shoots out the sword. I don't know how that happens or why it happens, but that's in there as well. It's all sorts of bonkers, but it's a lot of fun. Like that's, you know, there's a couple scenes that are very kind of hero moments, and it's a lot of fun, and I do recommend giving this one a watch. Is it one I would watch again? Probably not, but that doesn't mean it's bad. I would probably go to Dragon Slayer first. But I give Albert Pune and his cast and crew all the credit in the world, because it was an entertaining movie, and it was done well. There's only like maybe 1 or 2 parts where I'm like, wait, what? And then this one at the very end got me again. I totally forgot about the super bad guy, because there's the bad guy and then there's like the super bad guy. And the reveal at the end, I was like, what? This is cuckoo. That's it for today. Tomorrow we will pick up with 1983, a double feature, and it's actually 2 movies from the same franchise. And I'm really looking forward to this one because it's 2 movies that I'm almost embarrassed to say that I've never seen, as big as a fan I am of this franchise. So that will be tomorrow. So take care, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, it is the next day, and we got 2 more movies to watch. Super excited about these. It is a character, it is a franchise that I love. He's my favorite superhero, and that is Superman. I know the 4K set is coming out in like a couple weeks. I'm looking forward to that. I am gonna pick it up. But tonight we're just gonna watch the Blu-rays, and we are gonna be watching Superman 3 from 1983 and Superman 4 from 1987. Why I have never watched these movies after all these years is beyond me. I have no idea why I never bothered to watch them. We're gonna get right into it because it's about 11 o'clock at night, but I will catch you guys after the movies. All done with Superman 3 and 4. So it is the next morning. After Superman 4, I zonked right out. Like in my chair, I just poop out for the count. Superman 3 from 1983. Now, we have to start off just by saying Superman 1 and 2 are on a different tier. They just are. You kind of have to disconnect 3 and 4 because they are like 1 and 2 are up here, and then 3 and 4 are like way down here. 3 had some good concepts. It had Richard, so it was, you know, it was Superman, and then you had Robert Vaughn as the main bad guy, and then you had Richard Pryor, who was a bad guy, but he turned out to be okay. He was like a computer hacker genius. And Robert Vaughn hired him to hack a weather satellite to like change the weather in Colombia to affect the coffee crops, like the coffee bean crops, whatever. And then he wanted him to do something with oil. Anyways, it was so Robert Vaughn could get more wealthy. Let's focus on the good. So the good that was in Superman 3, I thought, of course, Christopher Reeve, he's the best Superman. He may always be the best Superman. The flying wire works, however they do it, looked wonderful. The stuff in Smallville, between like him and Lana Lang, played by Annette O'Toole, and she played the part really well. That was good. That was really good. I liked that dynamic between them. And then, you know, Clark going back to Smallville. The part, there was too much silly in this one for me, like over the top silly. Now, the use of like computers being scary and how they could just do things to totally disrupt the world, that was a good idea. That was a great idea to use back in 1982, 1983, because computers were so new to everybody as to what they could do and what their capabilities were. So that wasn't a bad idea. It was more in the execution. Then you also had Superman battling Clark Kent, like the internal struggle. And it was cool because when it was like bad Superman, his costume was muted. The colors were muted, so that's how you knew it was like bad Superman. Because Superman kind of turned into an asshole. And then he had his battle with Clark Kent, and Clark Kent won. But overall, like, put it all together and it didn't quite work. And then you throw in just kind of the overtop silly. And this one was okay. I guess I'd watch it again, but this one was just very, very average. So now we move to Superman 4 from 1987. And I didn't do a lot of research, but it's still a Warner Brothers, but I guess it moved to Canon Films. It was a Golden Globus film. And so all the things I'd heard about Superman 4 was, oh my God, it's so terrible, it's so terrible. I have to be like very, very honest here. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I definitely liked it more than Superman 3. I mean, was it cheesy at times? Yes. Was it silly? Yes. It's dated, but were the flying sequences better? No. But I liked it. I had a really good time with it. Gene Hackman is back, and you just can't beat Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. You had John Cryer, who was Lex's nephew, and he was kind of like a kid from the valley. He had that real kind of surfer talk lingo. He was fine, instead of having Ned Beatty in there. You had John Cryer as the sidekick, and I thought he did a fine job. Mariel Hemingway was an addition to the cast. Oh, that was a thing from Superman 3. Margot Kidder was in it for about 2 minutes, but she's back in this one. And there were some interesting concepts in this one. You had the very beginning of the film, because this is 1987. You've got like the whole nuclear arms race going on in real life. And the movie starts out with Superman saving. It starts out with some Russian astronauts on a space station, and some calamity happens, and Superman comes and saves them and is very friendly to them. That was really big. And that was big for 1987, similar to like Rocky IV, how it kind of made a statement. So yeah, the nuclear arms race is the big thing for this one. And it was also cool because Clark went back to Smallville again, but this was more to visit the childhood farm. It's up for sale, but he goes into the barn to look at his spaceship that he arrived in when he was a baby. And you got to hear Laura's voice this time. And there's this one module left. And if it is removed, that's kind of like his last link to Krypton. If he uses it. And that was kind of a sweet moment. And it was also neat hearing Laura's voice, because in the first one we got to hear Jor-El. You also had, because tabloids were really huge, back in the 80s. And so you had the theme of the slimy news person coming in, like the media mogul coming in and corrupting the big newspaper, and how you couldn't trust the news that was being reported, that it was all manipulated. So that was, that was interesting. As for 87. This scene was bad. I admit this. I like the concept though. So some museum got a hold of Superman's, like a strand of Superman's hair, and it could hold up 1,000 pounds. Yet Lex Luthor goes in, no problem. He goes into this museum and just cuts it and steals it with no problem. So the thing can hold 1,000 pounds, but you can get an average pair of scissors and just cut it. Whatever. That one, I was like, wait a minute. But then Lex takes the hair and puts it into a nuclear device and then shoots it into the sun. And from that, it's going to extract this, a super creature that's going to rival Superman. It's silly, but you know what? I like the idea of Nuclear Man. It's ridiculous, but it was fun. So yeah, Nuclear Man comes and he's supposed to take out Superman, and Lex Luthor's gonna be victorious. And it was also a little silly that Nuclear Man had Gene Hackman's voice. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why that was the case. Why didn't Nuclear Man have his own voice? But then there was also the dilemma. You know, Superman spoke to his elders. He went to the Fortress of Solitude, spoke to his elders, and was like, you know what? This nuclear arms race is going to wipe out Earth, and I've been living here, and I love the people here. And his elders were like, no, just, you know, they were very matter of fact. They're like, listen, you're good. You can just go and fly off and live somewhere else. Forget these people of Earth. And he was like, no, I don't want to do that. And so that was kind of neat, you know, for Superman to make that choice. And he, you know, he ended up saving the world, of course. That's what Superman does. But then I also have the question, if Superman put all of the nuclear arms into a big space net, this ginormous space net, which, where did the big space net come from? He puts them all in there, and then he flings them into the sun. Now, the logical side of me would say, wait a minute. If Superman flung all of these nuclear arms into the sun, wouldn't that have some sort of ripple effect into the atmosphere? Like, wouldn't that do something? Or would it really just literally burn them all up and nothing would happen? I don't know. But let's keep in mind, this is a Superman movie from 1987. So I'm going to let that go because it's just fun. It's a fun movie. Lex Luthor, I thought, you know, this is a motto this is a saying that could be used at any time, but especially in today's climate. And I'm going to read the note because I wrote it down what the quote was. So Lex Luthor's motto is, the more fear you make, the more loot you take. I'm just saying that could be applied at any time. It's just curious. There are a lot of things that could be relevant to today's time from Superman 4, The Quest for, whatever this was called. What's this one called? The Quest for who? The Quest for Peace. I'm just saying, if you haven't seen it in a while, give it another shot. It really isn't that bad. Now, is it great? No, it's not great, but it's not that bad. The one thing that really devolves in this one are the special effects, like the flying effects. Especially, like 1 and 2 especially, they look so good. The flying, and especially the, in 3, where Superman would kind of take off or land when he was very close to the ground. It looks so good. And then this one, it was a mess. I don't know what the budget was for this one, but it was a mess. I'm really happy I finally got to watch these two, Superman 3 and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. And then I guess Canon had, well, they had scheduled, they were like, yeah, we're doing a Superman 5, but then, you know, it never came about. And I think Canon Films went under shortly after that. Sometime after that, they shut down. But yeah, so there's those two. Now later today, we're gonna get another two watched, another double feature. The first one is a movie from 1984, Cloak and Dagger, with Henry Thomas and Dabney Coleman. I absolutely remember this one being released, but I just never saw it. Was it Arrow? It might have been Arrow. Released Cloak and Dagger. And it is so genius the way they did it. I'll put a picture of it up here somewhere. It looks really nice. But yeah, that'll be the first one up tonight, is Cloak and Dagger. So I'll see you after the film. Okay, finished up Cloak and Dagger from 1984. What a cute film. You know, I'm really surprised I never watched this one back in '84. You know, it's Henry Thomas, and it was funny because I was watching the movie in here in the office, and then I went into the other room and my older boy was rewatching Midnight Mass with Henry Thomas. So it's great that he's had such a, you know, a long career. Yeah, it's a sweet story too, which I didn't expect. And now, of course, you have at the very beginning of the movie, the Russians are the bad guys, so that plays into this. We had talked about it previously with Superman 4, but Henry Thomas's mother has passed away. Dabney Coleman plays his father, and you know, they're both kind of struggling from the death of the mom. Henry Thomas is having a rougher time, and I believe he is trying to cope with it by, you know, he's kind of imagining that this character called Jack Flack is on adventures with him and talks to him, but it appears as though it's kind of a problem. Like the dad wants to take him to see a psychiatrist or psychologist just to help him get through the rough time. So the setup of the story is Henry Thomas, he witnesses a murder. Before the victim dies, he hands him a Cloak and Dagger Atari video game, and it turns out in this video game you have to hit a certain score, and then these plans for like a super secret airplane pop up. So now it's a fight for who's going to get the video cartridge, who's going to be killed in getting it. You know, you've got these bad guys who are truly trying to kill these little kids, and Henry Thomas just trying to get anyone to believe him, you know, as to what's going on. It's done very well. The acting is good. Dabney Coleman, God bless that man. I looked it up. He's still alive. He's 91 years old. He's great. He plays the dual role of Jack Flack and then as the father. And it's nice because at the end, you know, his dad, Dabney Coleman's character, you know, really becomes his hero, and it's sweet because they love each other. They're just going through a hard time. Yeah, and then Henry Thomas's little friend from next door, she does a good job. She's kind of sassy. And then William Forsythe plays the, like, computer nerd who works at a game store in the mall. He's their friend. And he's the one who discovers what's on this Cloak and Dagger video game. I recommend giving it a watch if you haven't seen it. This is just the regular old DVD, and I looked it up. It was Vinegar Syndrome who released Cloak and Dagger on, I think it was a 4K release. It's either 4K or Blu-ray, or both, I don't know. Also noticed in the opening credits that Brian May from Queen did the music for the movie. That was kind of neat. And then Richard Franklin is the director. Now, he also directed Psycho 2 and Link. There are other movies, but Link is that crazy like monkey movie with Elizabeth Shue, if anyone has seen that one. And then this one, and I think he's Australian, so he's done some movies over in Australia. So that's it for 1984. We're gonna move on to 1985 and Brewster's Millions. We have another Richard Pryor movie. This one was popular back in the day, but I just, I never watched it. Directed by Walter Hill, because I'm pretty sure Walter Hill also directed The Warriors, I believe. That was one of the movies he did. But yeah, so Brewster's Millions we will watch for 1985, and I will get back to you after the movie. All done with Brewster's Millions, 1985. It's about 4:30 in the morning and I'm super, super tired. I'm so happy I finally watched this one. It was good. It's just a kind of a cute, lighthearted movie from the mid-80s. Not John Candy. John Candy's in it, but Richard Pryor, his great uncle, passes away, and he is the sole heir to the fortune, which is $300 million. But in order to get it, he has to spend $30 million in 30 days, but there are all sorts of stipulations. Or he could just take the $1 million and that's that. Like, that would be the end of it. So he chooses to try and spend the $30 million in 30 days. And so the whole movie is just his story of how he spends all that money. And it's good. You know, it's a cute movie. It's Richard Pryor and John Candy is his friend. They're both in the minor leagues. You know, when the movie first started, I was looking at the credits and I'm like, man, and I just got like really sad because it's like, okay, Richard Pryor, dead. John Candy, dead. Jerry Orbach, dead. Hume Cronin, very dead. I don't know why that, like, I think it's because it's late and I'm just tired. And I was like, oh, that's so sad. All these guys are dead. But that has nothing to do with anything, really. Yeah, so Brewster's Millions. These were the days on DVD when, like, special features, you had production notes, cast and filmmakers, and a theatrical trailer. Those were the days when production notes were considered a special feature. But anyways, that's 1985. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to take a break from the movie marathon. I have to do some editing for something else. And then the Picard season finale is on tomorrow night. So I'm going to be watching that as well. And then we'll continue on. We'll have 2 more days. We'll have 1986 through 1989. And then we'll finish it up. So I'll catch you guys later. Okay, back for another night of movies. We've got 2 movies tonight. First up is 1986's The Mosquito Coast with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren and River Phoenix. Yeah, of course, I remember this one when it came out, but I mean, that's about it. Don't know much else about it except that I think they're in the jungle. But yeah, we're gonna get right into this. I'm gonna make a little popcorn. That'll be the snack for tonight. And I will see you guys after the movie. All done with Mosquito Coast from 1986 with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren and Joaquin Phoenix. Not Joaquin Phoenix. All done with The Mosquito Coast from 1986, starring Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, River Phoenix, and I really had to kind of sit back and process this one when I was done with it. Very good movie. The basic story is Harrison Ford plays a man who he loves America. He feels as though everything is kind of turning to crap. People's work ethics are going down the drains, and things are being sourced from out of the country, and he doesn't like it. So he's a super smart guy. He has 4 kids, one of them being River Phoenix. He's the oldest boy, and they all go to, and Helen Mirren plays his wife. They all just pack up one day and go to, like, the jungle, in the middle of nowhere in the jungle. And there's this little village. It has a few huts here and there, sort of, but they go in, and the whole little village works together, and they build up this really nice area. And Harrison Ford's a smart dude. He's able to build this big, like, air conditioning structure so they can have air in their little houses. You've also got an American missionary. He plays a role in all this. He gets a little pushy, and Martha Plimpton plays his daughter. She's only in it for a little bit. And then you get some bad guys come in, and they kind of, like, they're real bad guys, and they want to basically stay there, and, you know, they're not welcome. They end up dying, and the whole village ends up blowing up. So Harrison Ford and his family, you know, they find another spot, but it's just so, it's right off of the ocean. And at this point, the whole family is kind of fed up. And what's really interesting is Helen Mirren's character as the wife. You know, she's very supportive. She wants to be supportive for her husband. She wants to be there for the kids, but she can see how the entire family dynamic is devolving. The kids, like, River Phoenix plays kind of the strong older son, but the younger boy, like, he wants his dad dead. He wants to go back. River Phoenix is starting to want to go back. The girls don't really play much of a role in this movie, probably because they're so young. Like, it wasn't a bad idea to want to take his kids away from kind of the hustle and bustle of life and teach them work ethics and life lessons. Like, there's really nothing wrong in that. But it's just when he got so fanatical about it, and it was really hurting his children. And then the wife finally kind of broke down towards the end. I mean, I guess I'll give away the ending. I mean, it is kind of an old movie, but Harrison Ford's character does die at the end. The wife and the kids take the boat, and they're going to presumably head back to the United States. They're headed back towards the ocean. But I really liked it. Very good movie. I definitely recommend checking it out. But that's it for 1986 and the Mosquito Coast. Next, we will move on to one that is very popular, never saw it, and that is Raising Arizona, the Coen brothers film. So this will take care of 1987, and I will see you after the movie. Raising Arizona from 1987. You know, I think I realized that the Coen brothers are very hit and miss for me. Now, I say that, but by no means am I saying that their movies are bad. They're not bad movies. They're well acted, well directed. I mean, everything is done very well in these movies, but they don't always connect with me. And unfortunately, most of Raising Arizona just didn't connect. I know it was very popular when it came out, and it's still very popular. People praise this movie, and that's fine. God bless. But it just didn't hit with me. You know, I mean, you've got Nicolas Cage, Holly Hunter, John Goodman, William Forsythe. They all do a wonderful job. Absolutely. But I just found it kind of okay. You know, it was fine. I don't really have to explain the plot of Raising Arizona. I think a lot of people have seen it. This was just one that fell through the cracks for me. But you know, there are some of the Coen brothers movies that I really enjoy. I haven't seen them all, but like Big Lebowski, True Grit. I don't know if both of them directed all those, but at least one of them did. Fargo I pretty much enjoyed, and Lady Killers with Tom Hanks. I know that a lot of people don't like that one, but I remember enjoying that one. So, I mean, it's fine. It was fine. It's probably isn't one that I would watch again, but that's okay. That's all right. So next up, we're going to 1988. So we're almost done. We're getting to the end. And Alien Nation. I remember the TV show, which I'm pretty sure came after the movie. I think it was a Fox show. My dad used to watch it all the time. And yeah, so James Caan, Mandy Patinkin, Terrence Stamp. So yeah, Alien Nation, that will take care of 1988, and I'm gonna give this a watch right now. So I will see you after the movie. wonderful movie. I'll recap real quick. Aliens have arrived on Earth in 1988. It is now 3 years later in 1991, and they have really kind of become part of the culture, but a lot of people don't trust them still. There is James Caan plays a Los Angeles police officer. Him and his partner are out one night, and his partner gets killed during a robbery that involved the aliens, or I think they call them the newcomers. So now James Caan wants to find out, you know, what happened, and he partners up with Mandy Patinkin's character, who he calls George, and no one really wants to work with him because, you know, he's a newcomer. But they pair up, and as you know, you would expect, they start to learn about each other, and George is very calm and you know, by the book, but he has a character arc, and then James Caan is kind of the wild one, and then, you know, his character has an arc as well. And of course, by the end, they find out what has happened. There's some shenanigans going on, and everything is settled. Loved it. And it was like 90 minutes. It was very boom, 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 boom. You didn't really need much more than what they had. Here's my question. I looked it up. There's only, from what I found, there's only a DVD release, and no like official region 1 release. There are some multi-region ones, and I think some region 2s. How could this have never been released on Blu-ray? Now if Fox still owns the movie, then I would take the leap and say that Disney owns it as well. Will Disney ever release it? Probably not, but that's a shame. I hope someone picks it up, a boutique label. That's it for movies tonight. There's one more left from 1990. That's it for tonight. We only have 1989 left, and it's over, I think, 2.5 hours. Here for the final day of the marathon. Our last movie from 1989 is The Abyss. I know it's super popular, and I know everyone's clamoring for it to be on Blu-ray and 4K and all that, but yeah, never saw it. Directed by James Cameron, and I think it runs about 2.5 hours. So this will be the only movie today. It'll be the last one. I will catch you guys after the film. Are you just gonna sit here for this? Huh? Oh, you too? Okay. Okay. All right, stop. All right. Are we both gonna talk about The Abyss? Oh, crap. All done with The Abyss. I now absolutely understand why people want this on a high-def transfer. It's going to look beautiful. The special edition. No, over there. No. Okay, watch the theatrical edition, not the special edition, and it was good. It was good. By no means is it a bad film. It's just not one I would probably go back to. I think for me, a one-time watch is fine. And it's not like there's anything particularly bad about it. Acting's fine. It's a good ensemble cast. The special effects, amazing. You know, the special effects combined with the practical, great, good stuff. But you had a few things going on in this movie. I mean, you had the rescue mission, because I'm not going to explain what happened. I'm sure almost all of you have seen it. You had the rescue mission. You had like Michael Bihn's descent into madness, so the crew dealing with that. You've got just the elements and trying to stay alive with the perils of their mission. And then on top of that, you've got the underwater aliens. I don't know if I liked seeing inside this spaceship. And that must have been a tough call, I would imagine, because I go back to the whole Close Encounters thing, where there is the cut that includes inside the spaceship, and I believe because Steven Spielberg wanted to go back and reshoot a couple things, the only way the studio would pay for it is if he shot the inside of the spaceship. So with this, I think it would have been more of a mystery if they didn't go inside the ship. But that's, you know, whatever, that's okay. He went with it, that's cool. That's it for the 24-hour 80s movie marathon. To anyone who watched this entire video, thank you so much. And for anyone just watching my channel at all anymore, thank you. I really do appreciate it. It was a lot of fun doing the marathon this year. It extended out a couple days longer than I wanted, but that's okay. You know, it's gonna be a little different each year. And I'll probably do it again next year, because it's just kind of fun. You know, it's fun to jam all those movies into a short period of time. And I like coming up with the different themes and doing the little bumpers in between. Those are fun. But take care, and I will catch you guys next time.